Hello and a very warm welcome back to our coverage of eRacing GP Global Edition. It is the final round, would you believe, of Season 3. We've had champions already crowned in the copper and bronze earlier on today. Congratulations to Zoriel Summerdebilia, who proved he was not a one-season wonder. Our attention now goes to the battle for the silver class, the next, they're not quite the cream of the crop. I don't know what you call that, Alex Young. But we've got a two-man race, really. You've got Dylan Tam, who's in pole position. And he is... well, he's got to make sure that he gets the better of Jyn Mazvilton. So it's an all-Singaporean top two.
Yeah. So let's have a look at the championship then of the silver class.
Names there that you recognise. Harris Zephy missed out last week, and so he's missed out a chance to have a real impact in what goes up at the top. But there's a good scrap for P3 there. Harris Zephy and Ollie Aquino. Paul Faustino is mathematically able to do it. Bronze champion last year. Triple L has proven he's no one-season wonder either. He's alongside Tony Fock. They've got 45 points. So there's lots of little battles going right the way down, Alex, to suggest that this last race of the season for the silver class is going to be well worth watching. But the real battle is up at the top. Jyn Mazvilton, the Singaporean, he's the man on 123 points. Dylan on 106. Now, what we've done here is we've calculated the dropped points. In the 6 rounds in the season, you're allowed to jettison one set of points. Jyn Mazvilton's worst round was round 2, where he picked up only 7 points. Dylan Tan, his last round was his nightmare, where he picked up only 4. So Jyn is very much in control of his destiny, but Dylan Tan, he's a doughty young competitor.
Yeah, I think Jyn just needs to make sure he gets, if he gets pole position, then I think he only needs to finish 5th or 6th in the race, and the title is his.
We're on board here with Harris Zephy. I mean, we will obviously focus on the main championship. The guys have got about 3 minutes or so to go in qualification. Harris missed out last week, and that's a bit of a shame for him because he's had a reasonable season. He's in P3 at the moment, but now there's a little bit of pressure on him because if he finishes out of the top 3, this will count as a pretty lousy season for him, won't it?
Yeah, it will, because he started so promising, especially as well. So a little bit up and down, but yeah, he'll be keen to try and get up there. Let's just remind everyone that we are on a 15-minute race today, like round 5. So it's a reverse grid race. So there's no qualifying. The qualifying is set as reverse of championship order. So Harris will start towards the back, but at the very back will be Jyn Mazvilton and Dylan Tan.
You've been able to get people from far and wide. Triple L, the bronze champion last year, he's in the top 6 this year. He's in the same colour blue car, but he's had a half-decent season as well. I'm focusing away from the top 2 because we'll spend so much time in the race on the top 2, I fear.
Yeah. Yes, Triple L, as we like to call him, he's been a bit... He hasn't been as strong as I thought he was. He won the bronze championship really well. Maybe the car doesn't really like him. I know that the Hong Kong Macanese drivers, they really love the front-wheel drive touring cars. So in the last Global Edition, bronze class was the WTCR cars, which they really excel at. Maybe he's not so comfortable in the Formula 3 car. Requires completely different driving styles. You know, these are rear engine, rear wheel drive, with downforce as well. The style is certainly, the inputs you do with the wheels are very different indeed. And Triple L just hasn't seemed to have acclimatized to this car quite as well as some of his rivals.
Yeah, I was just looking around his season results. He's only had 1 podium. As you quite rightly say, I think we expected an awful lot more from the Hong Kong driver. Tony Fock, his teammate, he's also another who's been competitive, but only 1 for him as well. 1 podium for him as well, which means that those who have been consistent, Jyn Mazvilton, 1, 2, 3 race wins, a 2nd and a 3rd. They have really been the men to look out for.
Yeah, they really have been. I mean, started off at the beginning of the year, you know, you had people like Troy Iman, Harris Zephy, Oliver Aquino, who are fighting at the front, fighting for the wins. But as the season progressed, only Mazvilton and Dylan were able to maintain that performance throughout, and they were always at the front, and that's why they are leading the championship.
Okay, the challengers of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, it's a unique, it's iconic racing circuit. How do you anticipate the guys dealing with it?
Well, it's kind of tricky. You've got the flat out stretch down the start finish straight where you can slipstream and overtake. And you got the tricky infield section where it's very tricky to drive, kind of Mickey Mouse in places as well. So you're very technical area. But Judez, do you mind if we look at the qualifying, the grid? Because we can look at the grid now and see what the positions are before the race starts.
Indeed, this is how we will be starting. Bottom right are those who are up at the top of the standings. Not quite sure why Amitesh is down in P30, but Jyn Mazvilton and Dylan Tan are there. They're 27, 28. Harris Zephi, Ollie Aquino and Paul Faustino. They're the top 5 in the overall championship standings. It is a long, long way from the back to the front, although in their defence, Alex, they do have 15 minutes, but a chance maybe for James Kong. Ildar Usmanov, welcome to Ildar, and Clint Oliphant, Lima Skito and Brad McCombs. They might be wondering, hey, we might be able to pick up some decent points here.
So, Amitesh Nogi from India, he starts last. Good pickup there, by the way, Des. But he starts last because he had a qualifying ban. He had too many collisions in the last race. So, with that qualifying ban, that meant that we had to put him to the back of the grid.
There you go. You can't beat Alex Young. All the tricks of the trade are there. We are at the Indianapolis Grand Prix circuit. It is 150-minute reverse grid race. There will be pit stops, so strategy really comes into play. Let's just get on the men at the back. So Ollie Aquino is there. We're on board with him. Dylan Tan is always worth watching. Let's see how Dylan gets underway. We are indeed underway at the Indianapolis, and Dylan Tan has got off to a slow start. He's just trying to avoid the wall, the race wall, as they race into turn number 1, and it's going to be the Uzbek Lima Skito and Ildar who are going neck and neck there. I am enjoying this. Ildar is the man who has got the lead. Usmanov in the lead, and joined by Amo Hazik now in the commentary box. And Amo, it's a long way back for the guys at the back, but Jyn Mazvilton, he's made a decent start. Jyn Mazvilton has got himself up into the top 14 within the first couple of corners.
Yep, indeed. And the fact that there's only one real overtaking spot here on the circuit, which is actually after turn 1, and the rest of it is just you have to really send it onto the inside and make a maneuver possible, as we saw in the previous 2 classes. So yeah, agree, Des. It's a long way back for whoever is starting well at back, like for example Amitesh Nyogi.
Dylan Tan, though, he's made light work in this first lap. We saw him get a relatively slow start. Then he found a little bit of space by the pit wall. He has got himself remarkably up to P6. And we're still on lap 1, Amo.
Yeah, indeed. That is a mega start from the young kid, from the young Singaporean who's looking to actually try and overhaul Mazvilton in this championship. Right now, he is in P6. That is an incredible start from all the way at the back. Now then, this is early doors. We still have pit stops to do. This is going to be really, really tricky to guess when to pit.
Of those newcomers, Ildar Usmanov, delighted to see a new name and a new nationality. Team Astana are the guys in the lead, although Light Sky has just pipped him there. There's a good battle there. Usmanov has been forced wide, but he's just managed to hang on there. Now, Usmanov is not a name we expected to dominate a Southeast Asian Championship.
Indeed. And the fact that, fittingly, there was a livery that is matching the capital of his country, Kazakhstan. So Astana is the capital of Kazakhstan. He's driving basically his national team. So he's doing his country proud. But he has to hold on here against Sky Lai, who I know personally well from racing in ACC, and he takes the lead. So he has lost the lead, but he doesn't need to fret. He's still got 47 minutes to go to actually regain that lead. But he's got plenty of hungry drivers right behind him, ready to overhaul him.
I've just had a WhatsApp beration from Alex to say, hey, we are an international organisation. That's why we call it the Global Edition. That's why we've got guys from Macau and from Ildar Usmanov. But where is he from? Not Kyrgyzstan.
Kazakhstan.
Kazakhstan. Clint Olive, Dylan Tan from Singapore. Remarkably, Dylan up into P4. Right, he is having a go for this championship. You look a little bit further down, Mazvilton currently in P12. Dylan needs to get big points and hope that Mazvilton capitulates somewhere along the way. But Dylan is certainly doing his little bit, Amo.
Indeed. And the more he rises up through the field right now, he's almost on the cusp of 3rd place. He comes at the inside of Olive, and he takes 3rd place. Oh, a bit of a slight touch, and he does around the outside. Nope. Olive actually holds on to 3rd place. Dylan now still stays 4th. But right now, this is looking really, really good for Dylan. And if it's Mazvilton, who is making his way bit by bit up through the field, gets up and he is actually stuck in that midfield, Dylan will have a better chance of trying to overhaul him for the championship title.
There is Mazvilton. He's in a battle there with Roderilo from Indonesia. But he's got the head there. He's got your pal Wei Seong in front of him and Haris Zefi up in P7. We're focusing on P7 or P9 here because this is the man who is in the championship lead. If he finishes indeed in... Oh, no, he needs to get up 2 places to be guaranteed the victory, doesn't he? So it's not safe yet for Jyn Mazvilton.
And we all know that in this category, in the silver class, anything can happen. We saw like the likes of Mazvilton when in Mid-Ohio, for example, he was on the cusp of winning the race, but he threw it all the way through a collision with a back marker. So it can still happen here to any one of these championship contenders. When we had 2 anyway, because Zefi is way out of it. But yeah, Dylan, anything can still happen to Dylan and Mazvilton in the last few races. In this race.
If I tell you, Dylan Tan's got himself up into P2. He's overtaken Usmanov, who just had a little incident with Clint Olive, and Dylan Tan capitalized. So Dylan is in 2nd place. Lai Sky is in the green car in front of him. It's a 2.5 second deficit. But wow, what a start. What are we on? We're only on lap number 4, and he's come right from the back of the grid. He started 28th on the grid, young Dylan, and he's got himself up into P2. There he is, bottom right of your screen. Focus. Long, long way to go. There's still 45 minutes to race, Ammo.
Yep, and he's wiping a bit of sweat there. I didn't think he would break a sweat because he looks so effortless right now, the way that he climbed his way up to the front. But yes, indeed, there's still 45 minutes left to go here, and anything can happen. We still have pit stops, and I say pit stops because it could be more than 1 stop here in this race.
Yeah, I was going to ask, in your experience of these longer races, do you gamble softer tyres for a bit more pace, more pit stops, or are you Mr. Steady Eddie? What goes through a racer's mind?
Well, in this case, Des, I will. If I was chasing for the championship, I will try to go aggressive by putting soft. But having said that, going longer on hards may not be such a bad idea after all. So if we were to put it into a balance, we will start soft and then go for the long run on hards. Let's see if it can last. Oh. If it doesn't, then we will gamble on going on soft at the end. So
where is Dylan? He's on mediums now. No, they're hards, aren't they? On that what's that white wall there? That's a hard tire that he's on. Hard compound.
No, I don't. We can't tell by the compound because in Formula 3 they don't have that kind of they don't have that kind of red wall tires like they do in IndyCar, where they have white walls or yellow wall, red wall tires. So we can only do some guesswork right now, but I have a feeling that judging by the lap times, he is on the softs, and he is holding the fastest lap of the race right now.
Let's look at the race leader though, Lai Sky. You say you know him well. Is he used to leading these kind of long races? What will be going through his mind just now?
Well, not to say really well, but I know him because I've raced him before, and he can be really at a point here. He is competitive, but in a Formula 3 car, I'm not sure. In a GT3 car, yes, he can really drive well.
Amo Hazik in the analyst chair. Pretty good to have that kind of experience because, yeah, we can watch the guys lapping around and say they've made this mistake, that mistake, but if you're getting the inner thought of racers, whether they bottle it or whether they enjoy the pressure, that's what really tells us at the moment. Lai Sky is doing a fine job in the race lead from Dylan Tan. Another guy that we've not really spoken about, La Mosquito. He is in P5 at the moment, so this is looking pretty good for the men in green and yellow.
Yep, driving for, is that Hong Kong? No, that's Macau.
Macau, yeah.
Yep. And here's another guy that I drove very, I'm very familiar with him too because I raced with him in ACC in the Sim Racers Asia League. And this guy's fast. He is right up there as well. But I would try to say on air right now, apologies for any collisions we had prior to that because we've had a few run-ins before, but
a mea culpa live on air. Magnificent stuff. Jyn Mazvilton, well, he is closing in. He doesn't want mea culpas. He wants P5 as he looks down the inside at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. But La Mosquito is the guy who's just closing the gap there. I just want to mention, if we can go away from Jyn just for a moment, Ildar Usmanov. We mentioned the Kazakhstani had made a very good start. He was at the front, but he is struggling a little bit here. He's dropped right the way down to P19.
Yeah. Oh, and he drops it in the infield coming up to the bank, into the overbanking. Well, it's not been a great race for him. It was a great start, but 41 minutes to go. it might still come back to him if the leaders right in front make a big muck of it. As here we go now up to the banking. We're looking at him. P19 after starting on pole. Not a great way for him to end his, well, I think this is his debut race. Nonetheless, it will be great to see him next season in silver class as well. Back up in front, it's Sky Lai who leads the way, and it just has a 2.1 second lag. The gap has stabilized somewhat against Dylan Tyne. I think Dylan just settling into a groove. They both had invalid laps last time out, but looking at the gaps, it's maintained, so I think they're lapping around the same pace. They are now trying not to push it too hard on these tyres before making their first pit stops.
Okay, let's have a look at Haris Zeffy. He's currently the man in P3 in the overall championship. He's got Paul Faustino just close to him. Haris Zeffy, I think earlier on in the year, Amo, that we were thinking, hey, this guy might be able to have a real challenge because he picked up points regularly. He picked up 14 points in week 1, 13 in week 2. Then he had a second place in week 3. But his last 2 weeks have been pretty catastrophic, and a one-time championship contender has dropped way down and may actually lose his P3 at the overall championship standings if he doesn't do well in this race.
Yeah, indeed, and the fact that we saw it last season as well in the Copper class where he had the championship in hand when we came to Spa, but he just kind of choked in a bit. Then he really bottled it that last round where he could have had it, and take nothing away from Triple L who took that one. He had his teammates also helping him out, so Zeffy doesn't have the benefit of a teammate helping out, so that's why he really just hasn't had the support that he needs to mount a proper title challenge.
I love the way you spared his feelings there. Very good of you. Right behind him, he's got Paul Faustino, who's one of those who is chasing the overall third place in the title. So this is interesting. Faustino is kind of just tracking Haris Zeffy. Has a look on the inside on this sharp left-hander. And then it's very intricate. I think Alex described this as the Mickey Mouse section of the course. I was going to ask him what he meant by that. What do you think he's meaning when he says the Mickey Mouse section of the course?
That means that it's like wiggly bits. It looks like Mickey Mouse is. It's not like a hidden Mickey Easter egg like we see in Disney movies, but it's just the wiggly bits that are almost unnecessary. Those parts of the track where it just bunches everybody up, but no one can really overtake. So that's what we call it Mickey Mouse section.
Okay, well, Haris Zeffy is the man who's enjoying being in the middle of that there. Amitesh Niogi has recovered from starting right at the very back of the grid. The Indian racer's got himself up into a very creditable P11 and isn't too far behind Faustino and Haris Zeffy. He's improved throughout this season as Amitesh. I've really rather enjoyed seeing his performances.
Yeah, indeed. And I think he is based not in India, he's outside of India. But background check aside, he has done absolutely really well to start from all the way back in 30th. Now he's up to 10th. Amazing drive.
He's picked up points in each of round 2, 3, 4 and 5, 7, 8, 4. Not a great time race last time out at Laguna Seca where he just picked up 1 point. But he will have learned from that and he's got himself up into the top 16 in the championships. Close to such luminaries as Ryan Keith, Seb Tagulo, Joaquim Garrido and Troy Iman. So this is a decent performance by India's Amitesh Niogi.
Oh, who's that off? That looks like Mazvilton. I think that was Mazvilton. Oh, wait, no, that's Royf. That's Roseanne Royf off into the infield because he's driving the same colors as Mazvilton. I thought for a second that the championship there was actually settled.
Well, Roseanne Royf is there. Mazvilton, I can tell you, has got himself up into P2 because Dylan Tan has taken the lead. Does that mean somebody's gone into the pits? Who was the race leader?
Sky Lai, yep.
Sky Lai has gone into the pits.
And yep, indeed, Sky Lai has entered the pits and he's on a fresh set of boots. So he is the early stopper. We have to keep an eye on him, whether or not that early stop will pay dividends.
So Mazvilton, 37 minutes between him and the Silver Class Championship. He looks calm, he looks serene, looking up, nice little slow relaxed movement of the eye, eyes flickering all over the place just to make sure that he's aware of what's in front and behind him. Marv Dondekambe is the man who's immediately behind him, and the man at the very front is young Dylan Tan, and the top two, the cream rises to the top. Amo, always.
Yep. And well, we say the man at the front, he's literally a boy up at the front here. He is so young and he's got well enough, more than enough potential here to be one of the best in this region. And right now, looks really calm and composed. A bit of a wipe of sweat as Clint Olive gets a drive-through penalty for speeding the pit lane. So he was pitting. Disaster for him. That put pay to any points paying positions in this race. But Dylan here, look at that, calm and collected. He literally apart from last season where he had a few collisions with other drivers in DTM, he has been proving really well here in Formula 3. Looks like he's found his bread and butter.
Talk to me about tactics. We've had a couple of guys go in for a pit stop. Dylan looks like he's staying out. Maybe he is thinking of a one-stop, possibly?
I think he is. Because he might be going for the halfway point race, because we have a 50-minute race. He might be going for the 25th minute mark, which is halfway, and then he could just roll out that lap, pit under the 25-minute point, and he could have fresher tires by the end. So he might be going for one stop, despite the fact that he's pounding in really fast laps initially.
He is. He's pounding out a 1:22.2 last time out. Jyn Mazvilton is going backwards. Half a second down was Mazvilton. He's just coming into the tricky part of the course, the Mickey part of the course. Dylan, I'm just trying to see if he can see Dylan. No, he can't. It's a 10.5 second lead for Dylan Tan over Jyn Mazvilton. Looking a little bit, well, is he looking calm for you?
He is. And you can see he's blinking a few times there. I remarked before that he didn't even blink for an entire lap. But yeah, looking really calm. He's not oversteering the car. He's just putting the car where it wants to be and saving the tires. That's crucial because the tires here are the name of the game. He has to make them last a little longer so that he has to minimize pit stops and minimize spend stationary.
One-time race leader, Lai Sky, he's on a two-stop strategy. He's back out there. He's in 12th place. Now, he's just put in a 1:21.873 lap. That is pretty quick. In fact, right the way through, that must be very, very close to the fastest. It's not the fastest because Idar put in a 1:21.5 and there's a 1:21.4 from Justin Hung. But if you're in those kind of mid-121s, you're going to make up a lot of time very, very quickly.
Yeah, indeed. The Delta S. Lai Mosquito gets a drive-through penalty. He's speeding in the pit lane. So that happens in ACC, and it has happened here too. So that's unfortunate for him. He's gonna have his race slightly compromised. He has to do a charge scenario 7 style towards the end of the race. But yeah, we're talking about here in terms of strategy. The delta he has to make up from when Dylan pits, it's gonna be crucial. If he cuts that gap and Dylan doesn't make any more decent lap times on those old tires, we're gonna have Skylight well ahead by the time that Dylan makes a stop.
So Dylan Tan is still holding that 10-second lead. He'll be happy with that. Jyn Mazvilton second. Wei Seong in third. We often talk about Wei Seong and then we tend to go on board with him as he has some kind of catastrophe. Well, he's got a lot of pressure on him from Haris Zefi Shami and Amitesh Nyogi and Paul Faustino. It's 4 in a line there. Amitesh in the yellow. So Wei Seong, he doesn't look as cool, calm and collected as Mazvilton did. Bottom right of the screen.
Yep. Well, he looks calm right now. It looks dead in the eyes, but he is absolutely focused. And he's been saying to me that he wants to really work on his race pace to keep it up against some of these fast guys, as Nyogi there nearly loses it coming onto the oval. And he's got a guy who who all consider the one that we watch out for when we race, because Zefi is one of the fastest Malaysians here right now. He goes on the high side. That's the maneuver that you want to do on the oval, because you get a better run here coming to the first corner. You didn't even have to need the slipstream because you're actually much faster right now. Zefi goes onto the inside. Wei Seong holds onto the middle part of the road. He goes wide now. Who's going to get the better line coming to the first corner? It's Wei Seong, but Zefi lunges onto the inside and takes third place away from Wei Seong. So that was a good piece of driving there from Zefi to get up to third right now.
He's actually in the lead now, because I can tell you Dylan Tan went into the pits and Jyn Mazvilton followed him. Mazvilton is just coming out of the pits, so 32 minutes in. Clint Olive disqualified for ignoring that drive-through penalty. Cheerio, Clint. It's been good having you this season. But the story now is that it looks like Dylan Tan, you can't do a one-stop strategy if you're coming in after just 18 minutes, surely.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Because right now, this might be a bit of a two-stop. He's pushing on these tires, then he'll come in again. So we thought that, for example, Jyn is going to go for one star. So is Zefi, but I think Zefi will go for one star because I've seen him drive before and his tire conservation is actually pretty good, to say the least. He might just go for one, but again, we could be proven wrong because the race scenarios switch when positions change and something's happened along the way. So right now, provisionally, we're looking at a one stop for Zefi.
We don't pay the big bucks to guess wrong. I'm Amo Hazik, Haris Zefi, possibly on a one-stopper. If you've called it right, wow, there's a bonus coming your way. But Haris Zeffy, a victory in this race would certainly guarantee his place in the top 3. He can't get into the top 2. That will be either Mazvilton or Dylan Tan. But he needs to hold off the pressure from Ollie Aquino, Paul Faustino. In the overall standings, if you take away their worst race, and they've all had 0 points in one round, it's a 69 points for Haris Zeffy coming into this race, 62 for Ollie Aquino, 45 for Paul Faustino. So the real challenge for Haris Zeffy will come from Ollie Aquino.
Yep, indeed. Well, right now, the only stoppers we are focusing on right now is Mazvilton and Dylan. Dylan right now is in 5th, Mazvilton's in 8th. We know both stop, and surprisingly, look at that. Dylan actually jumped Sky Lie, so the extra laps on those tires paid off. So I thought the delta that Sky Lie lost from the pit stops, he could make up through the fresher tires, has not paid off, and now Dylan is the shoes on the other foot for Sky Lie, because Dylan now has fresh tires that he could push it.
And he's pushing there on Rozan Raif as well. In fact, he's overtaken Rozan Raif inside a couple of corners. These fresh tyres for Dylan Tan have helped him get a real good pace. His outlap was a 1:37.83. The real test will be the time on his next lap. We have had 20 of the 50 minutes gone. Dylan now up into P3. Mazvilton is down in P8. Both are on 2-stop strategies. There is a big gap in overall championship points between them. Dylan effectively must win this, must get a fastest lap, and then must hope Mazvilton fails somewhere way down the field.
That looks like a tall order as well, because yeah, we saw Mazvilton also commit a few errors of his own, unforced some of them, but when it comes to the crunch, and when he could really hammer in those lap times and stay in position, he could easily just hang back there and hold his position. It's Dylan now who's under pressure, who's trying to win this race.
Yeah, Dylan's looking to win. It's a back marker he's got in front of him, not Paul Faustino. Faustino's in 2nd. Race leader is Haris Zeffy, the young Malaysian. We missed him last week. I was really looking forward to Haris being able to make this championship a 3-way battle, but he was an absentee, but he's deciding to make amends here. It's a healthy lead of nearly 5 seconds over Paul Faustino. Still a long time to go. 30 minutes at Indianapolis, where there's tactical opportunities to either take the high road or the low road to make sure you don't make any mistakes. But at the moment, the gap between Haris Zeffy Shami and Paul Faustino, 4.7 seconds.
And crucially, he's also 4.7 seconds ahead of Dylan as Faustino comes into the pits. No, wait, no. Faustino just got overtaken by Dylan. So Dylan's now up to 2nd on the road. Provisionally, when we cycle through the pit stops, he will be leading this race. But for how long? Because he might come in for a 2nd stop.
Well, he's really showing a maturity, Dylan Tan. Let's just nipper down a couple of other racers who we've featured throughout the season. Mohammed Khalif has had a half-decent season. He had 1 podium already this year. He's in P17, is the young Malaysian. The bronze medal winner, or the bronze champion of the Season 2, Triple L, Leon Leo Leung. He's down in P18 at the moment, just holding off Tony Falk. But there's a long gap between many of these races. The pit stop strategy really does string out the drivers.
Indeed, it does. And the fact that that's what happens when we have strategy lanes in play, because some drivers, they adapt to new tires quicker, while others take a while to warm it up. And their in-laps also account for that. If they have a really bad in-lap, they're going to have to make up a lot on the out-laps. So that's why we got this field really strung out a bit, as opposed to the other races we had so far, where this field has been really bunched out, as we saw in the bronze class just now. Filipino 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and they were crossing the line within 2 seconds of each other.
Yeah, it's a bit more strung out in the Formula 3s. Naufal Mohammed Faiz disqualified. That's 2 disqualifications we've had. Ryan Keith is also a casualty as well. It's an international field that we've put together for the 3rd season. We've got racers from Japan. Nois O is the man in shot there. 2 places behind him in P9. The United States, Keith Griffel. Then we've got Kazakhstan's Ildar Usmanov, who's got himself up into the top 10. From India, Amitesh Neogi. So it's not all just about Southeast Asia and the Australians. We really are spreading the field far and wide. Haris Zefi, though, from Malaysia, is a man close to home and is leading as they go into lap 17. We approach the midway point of this race.
Indeed, and in fact, this is the midway point where I think Zefi will now think about pit stop. Because look at that, Dylan and, well, that's not Sky right behind, that's actually a back marker, that is Khalif. But this is Dylan now, right behind him. This might be the tipping point in the race. Dylan might take the lead now, but if he does another pit stop, then the impetus will be back onto Zefi to try and claw back that delta to win, to actually snatch the win at the end. So this could be, this is the battle on the road right now for first and second. But we have to wait for the end of the race, whether or not this will still be a battle for first and second, as Dylan goes onto the inside, coming to turn 1. Typical Indianapolis move, and he takes the lead of the race provisionally.
He took the slipstream absolutely beautifully. We were on board with Haris Zefi looking behind. That is what Haris could see in his wing mirror, and it was perfect slipstreaming there from Dylan Tan. Tell you what, as a racer so young, Dylan Tan, my word, he is going to improve leaps and bounds if he carries on racing, competing at this level.
Yeah, pretty sure he's going to be the next Alif Hamilton if this was the case. He's showing maturity well beyond his years. He's got a really old head on young shoulders to really drive this well. And he took full advantage of the fact that he overtook Mazvilton early in the race, and he just got ticked off everyone else on the bucket list. Well, sorry, blacklist, before coming all the way to the front. Now that he's in front and he's on fresher tires, he already made his pit stop. Will he try to hold back a bit to not overdrive these tires? Because we know that these tires can really go off if you overdrive them.
I'll throw that question straight back at you. Do you feel he just needs to be perhaps a little bit conservative, play the long ball game rather than actually just go for the race victory? Just make sure that come the last 3 or 4 minutes his tires are still in good nick.
Yep. Oh, there we go. Zefi comes into the pits, I think, because we lost him out of shot. But yes, he has to play the long ball game just like in non-league football. You just play route 1 all the way to goal. He just doesn't want it anywhere near the danger zone.
Haris Zefi moves down into P3. It's quite a while he's been in the pitch. Jyn Mazvilton now moves into P2. Very interesting. So Jyn knows that if Dylan wins and he comes second, Jyn Mazvilton will be the champion. So this is a guy who can take it relatively conservatively. But as you say, in the past, he has had 1 or 2 catastrophes in his history. But he doesn't want one here. At the moment, he's 13 and a half seconds down on Dylan Tan. Haris Zefi is still in P3. Justin Hung now moves into P3 ahead of Haris Zefi. But Dylan Tan and Jyn Mazvilton are 1 and 2 in the championship and here at Indy.
And they are so close even in the fastest lap stakes, because that's another crucial point of contention here. If either one of them take the fastest lap, that's 2 points to the good to one of them. So,
4 points, I think. Bonus 4 today.
Yeah, 4. So, okay. So, right now, it's only just a 10th in it between the both of them. It's a 120.6 for Dylan and 120.7 for Jyn. This is absolutely close. But in the faster lap stakes. But in the race stakes, we are looking at a champion right now in elect, right behind Dylan.
Yeah, we're on board with Dylan Tan. This is the potential champion, Jyn Mazvilton. Cool and calm. That's a fabulous shot. That is an iconic straight. I tell you what, even as a virtual circuit, that just sends shivers up the spine. That beautiful straight. And then you've got to forget about the grandeur of the situation and say, whoa, there's a sharp right and left and right coming up here. Whoa, slam on those brakes, get in the right position. And Jyn Mazvilton has done exactly that.
Yeah, we're talking about the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Over 100 years of history. It's been around since 1911 when we had the first ever Indy 500 here. And the yard of bricks is still there. This used to be an all brick circuit before they laid tar over it, but they only left that yard of bricks here to signify the history of this circuit, as laid out by Carl G. Fisher back in 1911.
I would love to see the bricks. These cars on bricks, that would be fun. Dylan Tan, he is the man who leads the way. Haris Zefi is back out, and Haris Zefi has retained 3rd place. Now, we reckon he's on a single stop strategy, is that right?
Yeah, definitely, because he hit it more than halfway. I mean, just before the halfway mark, so he's on a 1 stop. He's going to bring those tires home. But the guys in front, we are really interested to see, because the delta right now is 35 seconds. They're on relatively the same amount of tire life, but Zeffy is much fresher. So in this case, if they were to make another pit stop, they might be right behind him when he is at his weakest point, where his tires have gone off. So this could still go to Zeffy's favor just yet.
Lai Sky, who was leading early on, he's got himself back out. He's on a 2 pit stop strategy. Justin Hung, who we've not mentioned, he's nicely worked himself up into the top 5, although with some still with another pit stop to go. We're not quite sure what that really means in terms of the race situation. Keith Griffel looking for his best result. He hasn't had a top 6 position, the American, but there is Griffel in the red, white and blue of the United States, and Griffel currently in P6.
The Star Spangled Banner will be singing over here if he wins, but not when he's being overtaken here by Faustino. Oh, that is a one way to do it for Imitash Nyogi. Faustino takes position 6, Nyogi in 7. That's one way to be next. Unfortunately, at his home ground, he will have to settle for here behind these two guys.
Yeah, I thought we went to it, but the wrong time there. Triple L gets a drive-through penalty. Is that just carelessness when you're getting a drive-through penalty in the pit lane?
Yes. Because we don't know where the pit lane point is, because in the Indy 500, they will give you, like, if you go through from the oval into the pit lane, they'll give you a big gantry that says the pit lane starts here. Here you have to see where the line was before you enter the pit lane. And that's what happens when you don't see that line. You cross over, you get a pit lane penalty, and that's it. That just screws over your race completely.
Great inside knowledge once again as we are on board with Paul Faustino. He's chasing P3, but Harris Zeffy is the man in control of P3 in the race and in the overall championship standings, because his closest rival, Oliver Aquino, is down in P10, has got Wei Xiong for company as they come into one of the overtaking possibility maneuvers. Do you take the high road or the low road? Well, Aquino decides to go low, as does Wei Xiong, tries to get into the slipstream. Now there's an opportunity for Aquino. Will he just move out of the slipstream, or has Wei Xiong got enough momentum to hold him off? Aquino goes to the left. Wei Xiong defends on the right hand side. Wei Xiong desperate to defend and does just enough to hold off Oli Aquino.
Wow, and that's really good defense. In fact, I thought Aquino was going to move up to the inside because Wei Xiong just left a bit of space there. We saw several drivers in the previous classes just go for send it on the inside and made it work. Aquino just a bit more conservative here, and he stays behind Wei Xiong for another lap.
Up at the front, Dylan Tam, what are we on? We're on lap 22, inside the final 20 minutes. So it gets interesting now. It always was interesting, but it begins to just work its way out, because what are we going to get? The last lot of pit stops are going to come in the next 5 or 6 minutes, Ammo.
Yeah, because Dylan pitted around the 35 minutes left to go mark, so around the around the 30 minute mark, well, 5 minutes. He's got 5 minutes older tires than Zeffy, so he could either try to drive conservatively and try to fool us into thinking that he was making him to stop anyway. But it will be a tall order because these tires wear out so quickly that a second stop, if you pit early, is in order. We've got the front wheel drive of Dylan Tan there. Is he driving conservatively? Is he protecting his tires enough for your liking? Yes. And I mean, because I'm looking at the gap between him and Zeffy, right? Because it was 35 seconds when he came out of the pits. It's now less than 33. So, Dylan's driving conservatively. But if push comes to shove, and worst comes to worst, if he comes into the pits, he will be right behind Zeffy because Zeffy's pushing it on those tires right now.
Certainly is. Jyn Mazvilton, in the meantime, is quietly going about his business in P2. He's 16 seconds down on Dylan, 15 seconds up on Harris Zeffy. Harris currently holding on to P3. There is Harris, works his way around. When you're not under pressure from other drivers racing you, as is the case for many of these drivers here, it's a different kind of mindset that you've got to take, Ammo.
Yeah, indeed, because the pressure right now is not drivers around you, it's time. Because that's the delta, as I say delta a few times now, but that's how much time you have to gain on the other drivers so that you can make inroads with them by the end of the race. And this is the thing. Zeffy has a delta to make up to Dylan if he were to make a pit stop. He's in that nice little zone where it's just about 30 seconds and it's practically 35 seconds for a stop. So if Dylan were to make a stop anywhere between the next 17 minutes, he's going to be in prime position to take the lead. But he has to build enough of a gap too so that Dylan will not catch him up on really worn tires. So the pressure for him is time right now.
Okay, Justin Hung, I can tell you, has made a pit stop. So I was looking out for the first to actually make their second pit stop. So Justin Hung is in. I think we can maybe anticipate one or two others in the next lap or so, deciding that this will be the lap.
Dylan's coming in. Dylan's coming in.
So the 2 pit stop. This is the key moment. Dylan Tan, race leader. What will Jyn Mazvilton do? Mazvilton is also going to come in for a pit stop.
Yes, he is. Look, sharp right. He follows him. He actually shadows him. So this is a 2-stop strategy that we anticipated. And now it's up to Zeffy to actually try to push it in the last 16 minutes we have left here.
Dylan Tan, he is now on the move. Harris Zeffy is closing in. Tan possibly wants the lead. Zeffy tries to take it from him. Tan in the pit lane. Has to be careful. He's coming out. Harris Zeffy speeding down the main straight. Dylan Tan comes out and Dylan Tan has got the lead from Harris Zeffy. The pit stop worked for Dylan Tan. He is in P1. Harris Zeffy can just look only at the taillights there of Dylan Tan. And Dylan Tan has timed that one beautifully, Amarty.
Wow. And I thought Dylan was driving too conservatively to the point that Zeffy was catching up. Look at that. That's the 4-second delta that Zeffy had to just gain in the last few laps to actually overhaul Dylan. It's not enough. Dylan drove well enough and fast enough to save his tires to actually still be ahead of him. So wonderful strategy again for Dylan. He's proven time and again this season. He knows how to make the strategy work.
Jyn Mazvilton, meantime, he's got himself out in P5. That will be good enough to guarantee him victory. If he can hold on for the next 15 minutes, he will be the Silver Class champion. He's got Paul Faustino in his sights. He's just warming up his tyres, but those tyres will warm up pretty quickly on this section of the course, as he then looks to take P4 from Paul Faustino, but staying out of danger will be Jyn Mazvilton's main target, I would imagine.
Oh yeah, indeed. And right now, he has no one to race against other than Faustino, who's on worn tires by now. There will be easy pickings, easy pickings for him up to 4th. Okay, so Mazvilton on the inside, Faustino on the outside. That's an easy move. He's got it done. Now the only thing he has to worry about is just keep it on the road.
So Jyn Mazvilton up in P4. Paul Faustino will come under pressure from Ollie Aquino as well. No, Ollie Aquino is a good 10 seconds down, but Mazvilton up in P4. Dylan Tan is the man who has the lead. So all Dylan could do today is win the race and get fastest lap. That will be worth 29 points. If he picks up the 29 points, then the championship remains open, because it would mean that Jyn Mazvilton would have to pick up... What would Jyn have to pick up? Yeah, Jyn Mazvilton would have to pick up big points there. That's interesting.
Yeah, right now he's doing that.
8 points he'd need.
Yeah, right now the difference between them is about 8 points, right around the 8-point region. So for Mazvilton, he just needs to keep it pointing in the right direction.
Actually, you know what? It's more. It's more. He needs 13 points to be in the lead, 12 points. So he would need a top 4 place, Jyn Mazvilton. Just working out, this assumes that Dylan Tan wins the race and picks up fastest lap. His worst score of the season would be 4 points, which he would lose. That would put him on 135. That means Mazvilton, who would need a season total of 136. And to get that, he would need to pick up a 4th place position. So the pressure is on Jyn Mazvilton. He is 4th now.
And you know what's bad news for Mazvilton? Dylan just scored a 20.3. That's the fastest lap of the race. He is over 5/10 faster than the next driver who set the next fastest lap. So Dylan's got this in the bag. He is pushing it. Just the only thing that Mazvilton needs to do now is to, again, he needs to keep pointing in the right direction. He needs to stay in 4th. But the driver behind him that he has to worry about right now is Paul Faustino. But Faustino, not as close as he was yet. I think because his tires are probably worn up by now. Yeah,
I'm sure Dylan Tan would like Paul Faustino to be a little bit closer. Not a little bit closer, a lot closer, in fact, in front of him. Because the tight mathematics of this are that Dylan Tan, if he wins and picks up fastest lap, means Jyn Mazvilton needs to come inside the top 4. That's exactly the scenario we have got at the moment.
And everyone, the top 2 in the championship, they're all ticking the boxes. They're doing what they need to do right now. The only thing that could just screw everything over is one of them makes a mistake. As we see, speaking of mistakes, Ilya Usmanov gets a drive-through penalty, so his debut is a baptism of fire, shall we say.
Yeah, we've enjoyed seeing Usmanov, though. It's great to get a new country on the tick box for eRacing GP. We're in Season 3, and there he just spins off. That could have been a problem with his lagging because he's sorted himself out. Lai Mosquito in P14. I'd like Usmanov to pick up points here. Dylan Tan, though, is going to be arguably... Well, he could not do any more. Win, fastest lap, that's where he is at the moment. Hold on for 11 minutes and 30 seconds and then hope that Jyn Mazvilton makes a mistake.
Yep, and judging by that, I think Mazvilton just has this covered. This is an interesting scenario we're in right now because we don't have any action per se on track, but it's the point standings that's created the tension between these two drivers. And is that Skylight right in front? No, it's not. That's actually another back marker. That's Skylight. He's just well in front of another back marker. I think that's Khalif. Khalif goes onto the inside. Now that's interesting. Back marker shouldn't really be re-overtaking and drive in front, but I think Skylight is just struggling right now.
So Mohammed Khalif, you quite rightly said, he has picked up some time there. So Skylight in P3. So he's got the opportunity to get in the slipstream and to retake that place. But Khalif not making life easy for him. Or is, as you say, Skylight struggling? And if that is the case, that's great news for Jyn Mazvilton, because it means he can close in on the Macanese.
Yep, and there's only 5 seconds between them. If Khalif continues to do this, it's almost like he's doing Jyn a favor here, to be honest. Like, literally, he's holding up the guy who's in 3rd position, and it's going to make the guy who's in 4th, chasing for the championships, work a lot more easier. So, this is working out swimmingly for Mazvilton.
There is Jyn Mazvilton, P4 at the moment. It'll be good enough to win him the title, barring any steward's inquiries or race problems, which we haven't seen any, to be fair. Dylan Tam, keep saying, all he can do is win and go as quick as he can. He's currently got the fastest lap, a 1:20.3, which is a full 2 tenths faster than next fastest lap. Actually, no, it's 5 tenths faster than the next fastest lap, which is by Haris Zephy.
Yep, and he's got those boxes ticked. He's leading the race. He's got the fastest lap, and no, we don't have qualifying, so we didn't have bonus points for that. This is a drive that is almost like a champion's drive, while Mazvilton is driving more like a guy who's being conservative. It's just a bit unfair that throughout the entire season, for Dylan at least, that it has not worked out to plan for him. But in this last race, he's showing what he's all about, and we can't wait to see him in gold next season.
Of course. There's no age limits on gold, is there? Dylan Tan, though, he's really proven that age is no barrier on eRacing GP. Season 3, a Season 4 scheduled for November. We'll keep you up to speed with what the plans are for that. But for now, Dylan Tan, he's got his eyes on the mark. Jyn Mazvilton, he's looking always Lice. Who's gone out? Lai Sky has moved over. Lai has made a mistake, and Jyn Mazvilton has got himself into a podium position and will win the title if he can hold on for 8 minutes and 32 seconds for P3.
And that's crucial then. There's nothing that Dylan can do anymore now. Other than just pray that Mazvilton makes a monumental mistake in the last 8.5 minutes we have left. As Skylight, I think he's got a puncture. He's got a puncture here. The tires have given up on him.
So he will just hobble round and we'll go in for one last pit stop, and a decent race for the Macanese is, 42 minutes of he's enjoyed it, but from now on he'll just hobble round this circuit. Ollie Aquino will close, and this is good for Aquino because if Haris Zephy were to drop out, Aquino needs points to try to pick up 3rd place in the overall championship. At the moment, it's going to be Mazvilton, Dylan and Harris in the overall championship. In the race, it's Dylan, Harris, Mazvilton.
Wow, a lot at stake for these drivers still.
Ollie Aquino, he goes through. Lai Sky, how is he? Yeah, he's gone into the pit. You're quite right. You saw it early. You called it early. And Sky, well, he's hobbling into those pits. Don't get a speed through penalty, Lai.
Oh, wow. That will be something that befell his teammate, which was Lai Mosquito. But either way, that's a sad end to the season for him. As we now focus back to Dylan Tan. A 20.3 right now is his fastest lap. Still well cleared, and I don't see anyone overhauling that particular time in the closing stages of this race.
7 minutes still to go. In the 15-minute races, we're only at the midpoint. That tells you how different the mentality is for these longer races. A 50-minute race, concentration to the fore from Dylan Tan. He took a two-stop strategy. That was a gamble, but it's a gamble that's worked out because he's been able to race himself into an 11-second lead over Haris Zeffy and a 20-second lead over Jyn Mazvilton. It's a very impressive performance from Dylan Tan.
Wow, indeed. I'm almost run out of superlatives to describe this kind of performance. This is almost like, it's sad to say it's a champion's drive, but it is an absolutely brilliant drive from him. He made the strategy work. A two-stop strategy against guys who are doing one and still managed to get out ahead. It proves how fast he was in that midpoint of the race where he needed to push. And that's why he's leading this race by over 12 seconds from Zeffy, who, credit to him as well, he's managed to make those one-stop strategy tires work. But right now, he's going to struggle against guys who have pitted twice, and Mazvilton is closing in on him by a rate of knots.
For Dylan Tan, in an 8-race season, this will be win number 4. That is a really, really good turnaround. Haris Zeffy in P2. Haris, how's he looking after those tyres? I keep looking to your experience in this, Ammo, because you see things that I and mere mortals like me do not see.
Thanks for that, lovely...
Please tell us you see something.
I'm seeing right now, he is, I've seen him before. He knows how to conserve his tires. He could make a one-stop strategy work, because I saw, like, when we did a race last year at a place that has sadly closed now, in the TCR cars, he managed to, all of us were pitting twice, he managed to make one-stop strategy work, and the tire rate was even higher than the one here we're seeing right now. So, at the moment, he's managing a gap to himself and Dylan, for example, about 12 seconds, he managed to keep it that way, and 8 seconds between him and Mazvilton. So right now, he's just doing the business in keeping the tires alive. So we can almost call him like the tire whisperer. He is really that good in conserving his tires.
This is, and he's also had a very fast lap. 1:28.75 is his quickest. He's holding an 8-second lead over Jyn Mazvilton, who's maybe not as smooth as he was earlier on. The tyre degradation will kick in, and this might be a nervy 4.5 minutes for Mazvilton, because he's 4.5 minutes away from a title, barring a crash.
Indeed, that's the one thing that he fears right now. We saw what happened in mid-Ohio. He was after the pits. He came out of the pit stops. He was supposed to be in the net race lead. Then he got taken up by a back marker. So he'll be hoping that there'll be no back markers who was going to cause a mark here in Indianapolis. And speaking of the fastest lap times, he's only 2/10 off from Dylan's best lap. But none of that matters now. He is on the verge of becoming a champion here to follow his cousin, Lewis Hamilton, who also has wrapped up the championship in gold class.
Yeah, we've got the gold still to come. We've also seen Zuriel Sumadebilia wrap up the copper championship, the bronze championship, where he's replaced Leo Young as Season 2 champion. Zuriel Sumadebilia, really good performance from the Philippines. Top 5 positions in that championship. Great performance from Singapore here. Dylan Tan and Jyn Mazvilton, both from Singapore. So the little red dot will be celebrating in the little eRacing community tonight.
Indeed, but unfortunately it's still not enough to overhaul Philippines in the Nations Cup. So they're celebrating that. But second place, and indeed here, they're going to get Singapore champion anyway. So no harm done there for sure.
3 minutes and 20 seconds. Dylan's lead over Haris Zeffy is 18 seconds. I can tell you, Jyn Mazvilton has now got Haris Zeffy in his sights. So it could well be Jyn, far from driving conservatively, is going to try and go out with a bang. He's going to try and go out with a second place finish. And with 3 minutes to go and Haris just having to drive on those old tyres, he is under real threat, is Haris Zeffy. And Mazvilton has, Amo Hazik, got him in his sights.
Yep, and those tyres on his last legs now, they've been going on for well over 23 minutes. This is beyond what the tyres were actually designed for in this tyre wear rate, at least. He has now gotten the champion-elect right behind him. He will not fight. I think he will definitely just hold on. He will just try to finish third right now because he's well ahead of Paul Forcino. So third is a good way to end the season. We're going to have the 3 championship front runners, first, second, and third here in the championship, and first, second, and third in the race.
It's certainly looking that way. Haris Zeffy, the pressure isn't coming there from Mazvilton. That's a back marker that Harris Zeffy is under pressure from, so Harris won't lose second place on this particular straight. But Mazvilton is just at the very top of your screen, now out of screen. But Harris just tries to ease those tires. Maybe he can just coax that 1.5 second lead over the line. It'd be a great performance if he is able to hold off Mazvilton for P2 from Harris Zeffy.
And it will definitely be the sort of performance that I kind of expect of it, because I saw it personally how he can save these tires. But it'll be a tall order right now because Mazvilton is charging and he's on really fresher tires, having made that second pit stop. It will be an interesting way to see how this race ends between the both of them, as now Mazvilton's right behind. I think that's Khalif again.
Yeah.
Khalif has, well, he's been making himself appearing on camera more often. He's lapping guys that were supposed to be lapping him.
That's one way to do it. So there is the battle for P2 in the race, but the potential champion in a minute and a half time will be Jyn Mazvilton. It's a 50-minute race. Mazvilton, though, a little twitch, which is a little bit nerve-wracking for him. Imagine if he was to lose his internet connection now. That would not be a good ending.
Oh, that... I think he'll go to the doorstep of the ISP's company door and just ring whoever is in charge of the desk if that happens. As right now, I said that Zeffy will not actually defend. He is defending a bit. He's just swerving to try to break the slipstream. But here comes Mazvilton here in the switch to coming to the first corner. Not yet. It's too far. This is the last lap of the race and indeed the last lap of the entire season. Yeah,
we are on the final lap. Dylan Tan will win this race. He's got a 21-second lead from Harris Zeffy. Dylan Tan has also got the fastest lap of the race, a 1:20.3. He will pick up 29 points for his efforts today. That will give him a season total of 135 points. He needs Jyn Mazvilton to finish outside the top 4 if he is going to take the title, but Mazvilton is closing in on P2. He is now perhaps going to make a move, or will he nearly goes into the back of Harris, then takes him. Mazvilton is going to come P2 on the day, and that will be a champion way to celebrate your silver championship. The race is won by Dylan Tan.
Oh!
He enjoys a little swerve. Yes, Dad, that was me. You enjoy that. Dylan Tan takes it. Jyn Mazvilton comes in second place. Terrific race from Dylan, but Jyn Mazvilton will be the champion. 16 seconds down in this, but as he comes down the famous Indy Brickyard, it is Jyn Mazvilton in P2 who will be the silver champion ahead of Dylan Tan, the race winner.
And we look at it right now and look at how elated he is. He had driven a very hard race. It didn't come easy for him. It definitely didn't come easy for him because he started way at the back in 29, barring Mitesh Inilgi, of course. He had to work his way up. He didn't have it easy compared to Dylan, but he still managed to make the moves count. And he made a 2-stop strategy work for himself as well. And second place is a welcome return for him. And indeed, the championship well and truly sown.
Indeed, there is our champion. Jyn Mazvilton will focus on Dylan Tan. It's a brilliant effort from Dylan Tan, but he has finished his season on a very good 135 points, but a second place for Mazvilton means that he will win the title by 8 points from Dylan Tan. Harris Zeffy's 16 points guarantees him third place on 85. Ollie Aquino will be fourth, but this is a day for Jyn Mazvilton to really enjoy, but he was under pressure. Alex Young is back in the hot seat. Alex Young, I know you were watching with interest going on there. Dylan really did everything he possibly could do, and Jyn just had enough in the tank.
Yeah, really good job. Well, Dylan was just, he didn't panic and made that 2-stop strategy really work. Mazvilton just getting there second place in the last lap of the race, so that was really good for him. Harris Zeffy, 1-stop strategy. I think that was the correct strategy because he was started quite far backward as well. But he had to go so slowly on those old tires, didn't he? That cost him quite a bit of time. Debatable whether the 1-stop strategy was quicker or not. Faustino in P4, Oliver Aquino P5, Sky in 6th, Griffel 7th, Justin Hung in 8th, Wei Xiong 9th, and Norris O rounds out the top 10. Dylan Tan also with fastest lap, really good job. But yes, our champion now, obviously, Jyn Mazvilton.
Well, what a great way to end the Silver Championship. It's a Singapore champion. But young Dylan Tan, I know one of the objectives that you have is to encourage young racers to get some race experience. And this is a kid who is really genuinely competing against very, very solid and experienced racers.
Yeah, so, I mean, Dylan did a really good job. Debatable whether we're sending him up to gold. We'll actually have to think about it. Maybe we should send him up to gold. That should bring him up to another level. Jyn Mazvilton definitely goes up to gold for the next Global Edition. He was more of a consummate performer, wasn't he? He did a really, really good job, and great to see.
Haris Zeffy coming in third place as well. He missed out round 5, which I found a little bit disappointing because it prevented the possibility of a three-way battle for the title. But he did enough. He took the gamble. One stop. Amo in commentary said, you know, he's good enough to look after those tyres. And I suppose if his ambition was to secure third place, he's achieved his ambition.
Yeah. Well, I think his ambition was to try and win the race. He did start a little bit one place higher than the two championship rivals, but he didn't have a very good first lap. Maybe he was too conservative because he was obviously decided from the very beginning to commit to that one stop. But it was nice. That's what we want to see. We want to see different strategies kind of play out and see what could happen. But those three drivers were really in a class above everyone else. You can see some drivers have good pace at certain parts of the race. Like Sky was quick at the beginning, but a bit careless, making mistakes and pit stops and stuff. So we're hoping that the silver drivers will take this on board and learn, because it's not just about putting out the quick lap times. It's about choosing the right strategy, making sure the tires last, and not making mistakes like speeding in the pit lane.
Okay, the silver season is over. Congratulations to Jyn Mazvilton. After the break, we know who's got gold, but we're still going for gold.
To be aware of organizing eRacing Championship without RaceRoom. First, no automated leaderboard would always be labor intensive. Elimination round would be the only way to filter the winners. Having the participants adhering to the schedule would be a huge test. We need to know the task will get bigger when participants increases. Time consuming. Organizing eRacing Championship without RaceRoom, it's all need run manually to take down the participants and eliminate them from first round group to final round group. Because it is manual human labor, there bound to be human error. Manual human labor would have a price tag for the man hours involved. New participants would never have chance. The eRacing clubs in the world will send their best racers to participate the race. But that means your championship exposure is just limited to the eRacing clubs. Why choose RaceRoom? R3E official championship have fully automated leaderboard. Participants can log in anytime to leave the fastest lap time within the qualifying period. Each of the racers already have their ranks with RaceRoom. Next, save time. You can have unlimited amounts of participants in a super short time to qualifying them to final race. RaceRoom can cover unlimited amount of participants. We have a full automated esports ecosystem from qualifying leaderboard to broadcast AI. Besides, RaceRoom's free content lets everyone can participate to the race.